personally invested in Amazon.
Yes, exactly.
I believe in 2009?
Yes.
Was it? And then again this year.
Correct.
So what do you think about hitting $1 trillion?
I think that's a nice story. Yeah, absolutely. But I also think that they're a very unique company. You know, they're a tech company, they're a commerce company, they're a media company, and they've really diversified in ways that I think most tech companies have not. And additionally, they've created an ecosystem or a flywheel that is brilliant, that moves people from one part of their ecosystem to another very seamlessly.
So there's been a huge run up in the shares in the last 3 years. So the stock has exploded, but really quickly. Does that concern you? That this could be the top, a plateau?
You know what? I don't think it's the top. I think when you look at, it's a very highly valued stock. Let's be fair. But I do think that there's still a lot of room there. When you think that e-commerce is still only about 15% of all commerce in the country, and they are the dominant player in that space. As it expands more, they're going to benefit from that. And I think they're also one of the few companies out there where you can say they're not going to be profoundly impacted by the trade wars.
Interesting. I want to ask you about that. I do have a chart here in my GTV library comparing Apple to Amazon. What about the threat of regulation? What about the fact that Amazon is in the president's crosshairs?
Yeah, well, I think it is, but I think the other thing to remember about Amazon is that they support and they enable thousands and thousands of small businesses around the country. So you go after Amazon, and you're going after really the mainstay of the president's support system. So I think he will think long and hard about how and when he goes after them.
Now, you know what it's like to run an e-commerce company that's competing with Amazon. Today we saw J.Crew, the J.Crew Mercantile line actually partner with Amazon, so you can now get J.Crew products on Amazon, which is kind of surprising. Do you think that's the only choice for a retailer today, is to work with Amazon, not against it, or is this going to be in isolation?
No, I think that there are lots of different options for both retailers and for brands, right? So one of them is definitely to use that Amazon platform because you can reach an enormous number of people, but there are plenty of brands that are doing very well by going directly to consumers, and those are among the companies we back as a VC firm. There's no question that there's a lot of things Amazon does really well. One of them is not necessarily developing brand strength. And so for companies like Warby Parker and Casper and Glossier, they've developed a direct relationship with their consumer. It's an emotional connection, and it keeps that customer with them, I think, for longer and on a more consistent basis.
So let's talk about BBG. You came on the show when you launched this fund. You know, the goal is, every company has a female founder. Have you found that to be a competitive advantage?
Yes, 100%. One of the reasons that we launched BBG Ventures was that we knew that women were the dominant consumer. We are either responsible for or have the last word on 85% of all consumer purchases in every part of life. It's not just fashion and beauty. It is what healthcare plan you use. It is what insurer you choose. It is where you buy your house. You know, all those things, women are the dominant force in. So it just made sense to us to back entrepreneurs who understood that end user and who were going to speak her language. We're going to know where to find her and how to delight her, how to serve her needs.
Now, despite the fact that there are people like you out there making bets on women, women-led companies still get 2% of venture capital funding. And I have a lot of investors say to me, we're looking hard, but we can't find them. What are they doing wrong?
Well, they aren't really looking. We've seen over 4,000 companies since we launched 4 years ago, all with a female founder. I think that organizations like AllRaise, which I imagine you've covered, but AllRaise is doing fantastic work in that space. In fact, they're going to be at TechCrunch Disrupt.
That's trying to get more women into venture and more women funded.
Correct, exactly. And I think that there are lots and lots of women out there starting businesses. The problem is that the VC world right now is still dominantly male. 91% of all VC partners are male. So that impacts the way that venture dollars get invested. And it may seem like it's an arcane part of the finance world and not really that important, but it is. I mean, truly, venture capital has a much bigger impact than you would think. If you look back over the last 44 years, 42% of all the companies that went public during that period of time were venture-backed. So if we want to have a more diverse ecosystem of companies out there, if we believe that a more diverse group of entrepreneurs is going to come up with better solutions, then we've got to find ways for more venture capital to go to women.